Hi, guys. How are you? It's so funny, you realize your bun is crooked when you just get going live on Facebook. Anyway, crooked bun today. That's totally cool. So how are you? How's your week going? It's Wednesday. Unless you're watching this on another day. It might be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday for you. I don't really know, but if you're watching this today, if you've joined me live, it's Wednesday. And what's up? How are you? Type me a comment, say hi, let me know where you're from. And if I know you already, I might know where you're from. So I don't actually have coffee today. I am drinking a bubbly. It's a bubble water, and they come in different flavors. This one is lime, and this is kind of my new favorite drink of choice for afternoons. Coffee, I'm all over coffee all morning. And then usually by the afternoon, I'm getting a little bit sick of it. And then for a few hours, and then I'll have coffee again later on, or it'll be wine, just keeping it different. So today I've got a lime bubbly. What do you have? So I wanted to chat with you about giving and taking versus gifting and receiving. Now, gifting and receiving, I didn't even hear of that or know anything about it until I started taking access classes. And then we started talking about gifting and receiving. So before that, I knew what giving and taking was. I mean, you give somebody something and they take it and you don't have it anymore. And in fact, when you do the give and take, when you function from giving and taking, the person who's giving it, when the thing is taken away, you actually have less. And often giving and taking creates an obligation for the other person. So now, gifting and receiving, on the other hand, is also really energetic. Like this whole conversation of energy, I know it might sound really airy fairy and woo woo, and that's okay. I used to think it kind of did too, but there was always something about it that resonated for me and something that made so much, when I would hear it, it made so much sense to me. Like it was the energetic message and the energetic, I was like, that's what's going on. That's the weirdness that I was aware of. So when people do giving and taking, which is what most people do, um, they're creating an obligation usually, and they're not receiving from you, and it's not a gift. So, for example, giving and taking, what is it? So, for example, somebody might offer to babysit your kids for you and help you out, but they're doing that, if they're doing that from giving and taking, they are creating an obligation. So in the back of their mind, they've got this plan that, oh, well, now she's going to owe me. So she will babysit my kids for me when I need her to. So there's kind of like an underlying hidden agenda with giving and taking. So if somebody offers you something, or if somebody says yes to something, or if somebody is giving you a gift, and it feels kind of weird, you can sense this weird energy, you could ask the question of, well, is this person creating an obligation here, and is there some underlying agenda that they have going on with this gift or this offer? And if you get a yes, so if the energy matches and you're like, and what I mean when I say if the energy matches, all of a sudden that wonkiness will just have clarity to it, and you're like, oh my god, that's where they're functioning from. Okay, so do I really want to accept this? Am I okay with them creating some sort of obligation? Or maybe you can actually ask them, well, sure, thank you, and what are you expecting for this? Or what else is required from me for you? Like, you know, you can ask them about it. So oftentimes Yeah, so a person could be giving you something to create an obligation. So then you will feel obligated to say yes to whatever they ask you down the road. It's like they've got one up on you. So that is gifting and take, or no, giving and taking. That's giving and taking. Hey, Carrie, mom. So giving and taking. And also, if I'm giving you a gift and you take it, there's no like return or no like, anyway, giving and taking is just really solid and there's no exchange of energy typically, or not at all, actually. So gifting and receiving, on the other hand, hey, Bobby, gifting and receiving is such an energetic reality. So it's like if I'm gifting somebody something, I don't have an obligation attached to it at all. And if they receive that gift, if they are like so happy to have it and it lights up their world, I actually, in return, get a gift just from them receiving that from me. That is, so it's like a cycle of gifting and receiving. And it ends up being where there's no defined giver or taker because both parties are receiving and both parties are gifting. So you also need to be willing to be aware of what the other person is willing to receive from you. Because if you gift something that they're not willing to receive, then they will not receive it. And often, in Access, I heard the term that it will come back at you with daggers attached. So I can give you guys some examples of that because I've done that. I'm really realizing, not I'm really realizing, but as I'm on this adventure of being me, discovering what's true for me and who I'm really a generous person. And before I learned about these tools, I would overgift or overgive. And if the other person wasn't willing to receive it, then they would have to judge me for that. And they would have to make me wrong for giving them something that they can't receive. So I would be aware of their judgments, and they often wouldn't say them out loud, but energetically, there would be this really weirdness. And I would make myself wrong for being the generosity that I really am. And so I quit being that. And I thought that I had to protect myself, or like I just quit. I quit. And when you cut off a part of you, like the generosity of your being, that starts to hurt you in ways that you maybe don't even realize. Like your body can start to hurt from that. You're not as happy because you're not allowing yourself to be. There's a part of you that you're not allowing to be. So how this showed up for me is, I can give you a couple of examples. A friend of mine, I mean, she's so amazing and she's so wonderful, and she's a person who I'm with like a lot, and we have these interactions, and she's always there for me, and she always is, yeah, she's always just there for me. And it was her birthday or something on social media, and I went on Facebook and I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell the world how amazing she is. And so I'm typing up this whole post about her and how brilliant she is. And she wasn't willing to receive it at all. And she didn't actually even like the post. And this whole weird thing came up for us. And I was like, did she even see that? Like, why doesn't she even like it? It just turned really weird. And I was on a call with probably Glenise, and I asked a question about it. And then when I talked to my friend in person the next time, like there was just this really weird wonkiness. Like she didn't even really want to talk to me. And so when I asked about that, Glenise asked me a question like, Truth, was she willing to receive what you gifted her in the compliment and the acknowledgement? And it was just a loud no. Like, no, she was not willing to receive that at all. And so, okay. So then Glenise said, well, if you gift something to somebody that they're not willing to receive, they will return it to you with daggers attached. Because if she's not willing to acknowledge, if she doesn't know in her heart, in herself, how brilliant and amazing she is. And if I tell her that, or tell everybody on Facebook like I did, if I do that, then but she doesn't believe that about herself, then she has to make me wrong and judge me, and because she's not willing to receive that about herself. So of course it's not true. And who am I to go saying that about her? Like, oh my God. And I was like, wow, okay, that's really good information to have. Wow. And because as aware people, I mean, humanoids, we're aware, I can see the brilliance of people. And often they're not willing to see their own brilliance. And that happened with me too. Like with me too, people would compliment me or acknowledge me, and I wasn't willing to realize or acknowledge the gift that I can be or that I am. And so when they would say that, I would just brush it off and be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Come, me? No. So yeah, so as I have been acknowledging that about myself more, then actually there's more people around me who are willing to compliment me or acknowledge that about me too. And it's just creates, and then I'm just like, wow, thank you so much. Like, thanks. And I also did that with my husband too. Like he is amazing and brilliant, and he always has my back. He really does. Yeah, we have our little married thing sometimes, but for the most, like at the end of the day, I know he has my back, and I know that he will be there for me in whatever way I require him to be. And so it really showed up this one time. It was the summer of 2017. And I was hosting a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class with Anna Yelenius. And the class was like June 15th, say. And my indoor riding arena where we were going to have the class, it wasn't 100% ready yet. Like we had to haul in clay, and we had to haul in sand, and we had to finish getting it ready. And so that started happening after seeding. So it was the beginning of June. I think actually the class was happening in a week, and we were still getting dirt hauled in. And the big overhead bifold door, it broke. Like it just crapped out and it quit working. And I was kind of on mini freak out mode. Actually, I was on almost full freak out mode. And Travis was heading out. He had to go spray one of our crops, but he stopped, and he stopped and helped me get the door figured out. Like he just dropped everything he was doing, and we got it figured out so it could be opened. And then the next couple of days we had somebody out to come and fix it so we could open and close, but at least we got it open so then we could continue working inside of it with the dirt and stuff. And that night I was like, wow, like he was going by and he dropped everything he was doing to help me. And sometimes he would make this joke like that he's Superman, like, oh, I just need to save everybody and I'll just go get my cape. Like that's what he'd be like, oh, I'll just go put my cape on. And I'm like, he actually really does have a cape. Like it's really true. Like he really is Superman for a lot of things, and he always saves me and I'm like, and I had never really acknowledged that before. Because before that, before I started learning the tools of access and becoming more conscious about what I was creating in my life, before that, the only thing I ever did was make him wrong. Like I just told him how wrong he was. And I never actually would tell him ever how brilliant he was, or be grateful for him, or thank him, like truly thank him. And so that night, I told him how brilliant he was. Now, I did not ask if he could receive this. I just started like, thank you so much. Like, you really are amazing. And you really are Superman in my life, and blah, blah, blah. Told him all this amazing things. And then shit got weird with him. And he was like, I don't know, like we were fighting, but we weren't even fighting. I'm like, I just told you how awesome you are. Now you're being a fucking asshole. Like, what the fuck? And then I remembered, and I'm like, oh my God, was he willing to receive what I said about him? The acknowledgement? Not at all. So he has to then prove me wrong and send it back at me with daggers attached. And that's exactly what he did. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to become more aware of what I'm doing. Like, okay, I get it. I need to ask the question first. Is this person willing to receive this? And so, yeah, gifting and receiving versus giving and taking. And I was actually just, one of my friends was out visiting this morning, and we were just chatting, and she has one horse, two horses. And she was just telling me, oh, yeah, I need to go and get some oats from the store for my horses or whatever, just to give them for the winter. And I was like, actually, I have like a whole bin full of oats. Like the next time you come over, just bring a couple bags and I'm happy to fill them for you. And she's like, oh, no, I couldn't do that. And it's funny because I wouldn't just offer that to anybody, but for her, like, she's just really great. And I'm so grateful for her. And she does, I mean, she sent me her horse for training, and we have this kind of, and that's not why, but we have a, a business and a friendship relationship. And again, I have all these oats, and she has two horses, so she doesn't need a lot of oats, but it was something that I was just really happy to gift her. And she always brings donuts and muffins and coffee, and she's so amazing. I'm like, just come and get some. And she was like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, okay. And then she's like, well, what can I pay you? And I'm like, nothing. And then it's funny because as soon as I said that, I'm like, is she willing to receive that? No. Like, well, we can have lunch sometime. And she was like, okay, cool. So, I'm getting to be more aware of what people are willing to receive, but asking that question. So I guess this information is just to give you more clarity about, is somebody giving you something to create an obligation with you? And when things feel weird, if somebody offers something or gives you something, is that what that is? The obligation attached to it. And giving people what they're willing to receive, unless you're willing to receive the daggers that they will send back at you after. So yeah. So thank you for joining me today. That's what I was going to chat with you guys about. So have an amazing rest of your day, and we will meet again next week. Cheers with the bubbly. Bye-bye for now.